World War II, the deadliest conflict in human history, erupted in 1939. Nazi Germany, led by Adolf Hitler, invaded Poland. This act of aggression plunged Europe into chaos. Great Britain and France declared war on Germany. The United States, initially hesitant to get involved, adopted a policy of neutrality. However, the US provided material aid to the Allies through the Lend-Lease Act. The course of the war changed dramatically in December 1941. Japan, allied with Germany, launched a surprise attack on Pearl Harbor, Hawaii. This act of aggression forced the United States into the war. American entry proved decisive. The US provided much-needed resources and manpower to the Allied war effort. America's industrial might turned the tide against the Axis powers. American soldiers fought bravely on multiple fronts, from the beaches of Normandy to the islands of the Pacific. Their sacrifice, alongside that of their allies, ultimately led to the defeat of Germany and Japan in 1945. The world celebrated the end of a long and devastating conflict, but the war's impact would continue to shape the world for decades to come. Imagine a world where the United States never entered World War II. The immediate impact would have been significant. Without the influx of American resources and manpower, the Allies would have faced a much tougher fight. The war would have likely dragged on for much longer. Great Britain, already stretched thin, would have struggled to maintain its war effort. The Soviet Union, bearing the brunt of the fighting on the Eastern Front, would have suffered even more devastating losses. The outcome of key battles, like the Battle of the Atlantic and the Battle of Stalingrad, could have been different. Without the American bombing campaigns, Germany's industrial capacity might have remained intact for longer. This would have allowed the Nazis to prolong the war, leading to even greater suffering and loss of life. The consequences of a protracted war would have been felt across the globe. In a world where the United States remained neutral, the post-war global order would have looked vastly different. Without American leadership, the institutions that shaped the post-war world, such as the United Nations and the Bretton Woods system, might not have come into existence. The Soviet Union, having borne the brunt of the fighting against Nazi Germany, would have emerged from the war significantly stronger. The Soviet sphere of influence would likely have extended further westward. This would have shifted the balance of power in Europe and potentially beyond. The decline of European colonial powers already underway would likely have accelerated. New centers of power, perhaps in Asia or Latin America, might have emerged. The world would have become more multipolar, with no single nation holding the same level of global influence as the United States did in our timeline. The consequences for Europe, the primary theater of World War II, would have been particularly profound. Without American intervention, the Soviet Union would have had a free hand to reshape Eastern Europe in its image. The Iron Curtain, the dividing line between the Soviet bloc and the West, would likely have fallen further west. Germany, divided and occupied, might have remained fragmented. A unified democratic Germany, a cornerstone of the post-war order in our timeline, might not have come into being. The economic resurgence of Western Europe, fueled in part by the Marshall Plan, might not have occurred. The threat of Soviet expansionism would have loomed large over Western Europe. This would have created a climate of fear and uncertainty. The Cold War, while perhaps inevitable, might have taken on a different character with potentially even higher stakes. Technological stalemate, a world without the atomic age. The technological advancements of World War II had a profound impact on the post-war world. The development of radar, jet engines, and antibiotics transformed warfare and civilian life. But perhaps the most consequential technological development was the atomic bomb. Without American involvement, the Manhattan Project, the secret program to develop the atomic bomb, might not have received the same level of funding and urgency. It's possible that the atomic bomb would not have been developed in time to be used in World War II. This could have had a significant impact on the course of history. A world without the atomic bomb might have been a less dangerous place, at least in terms of the threat of nuclear annihilation. However, it could also have meant a more unstable world, as nations might have felt emboldened to engage in conventional warfare without fear of nuclear retaliation. The post-war world a bleaker economic landscape. The United States emerged from World War II as a global superpower, its economy booming. The war had stimulated American industry and created jobs. The Marshall Plan, a massive aid program to rebuild war-torn Europe, helped to create markets for American goods. Without American involvement in the war, the global economic landscape would have looked vastly different. The United States might not have experienced the same level of economic growth. The Marshall Plan would not have existed, depriving Europe of much-needed aid. The world economy, already reeling from the war, would have taken much longer to recover. The Bretton Woods system, which established a new global monetary order, might not have come into being. This could have led to greater economic instability and hindered global trade. Culture in the balance. A world less American. American culture, particularly its music, movies, and fashion, spread throughout the world in the aftermath of World War II. This was due, in part, to the presence of American troops overseas and the popularity of American products. Without American involvement in the war, the global cultural landscape might have looked very different. American cultural influence would not have been as pervasive. Other cultures, perhaps those of the victorious European powers or the rising Soviet Union, might have filled the void. This could have led to a more diverse global cultural landscape with less emphasis on American values and ideals. It's impossible to say for certain how this would have played out, but it's clear that American cultural hegemony would have been far less pronounced. The shadow of war, a legacy of uncertainty. Even without direct American involvement, the shadow of World War II would have loomed large over the world. The devastation caused by the war, both physical and psychological, would have taken generations to heal. The political and ideological divisions that fueled the conflict would have continued to simmer. The threat of future conflict would have remained a constant source of anxiety. The development of nuclear weapons, even if delayed, would have cast a pall over international relations. The world would have lived with the knowledge that the horrors of World War II could easily be repeated. This sense of uncertainty would have had a profound impact on the post-war world. It would have shaped everything from international relations to domestic politics to individual lives. The world would have been a very different place, forever marked by the conflict that had reshaped it. A world transformed, the enduring impact. Speculating on what might have happened if the United States had not entered World War II is a complex and nuanced exercise. There are countless variables to consider, and any attempt to predict the course of history is inherently speculative. However, one thing is certain: the world would have been a vastly different place. The balance of power, the political landscape, the economic order, and even the cultural fabric of society would have been profoundly altered. The United States' decision to enter the war was a pivotal moment in history, one that shaped the world we live in today. By considering the potential consequences of a different course of events, we can gain a deeper appreciation for the profound impact of this decision and the enduring legacy of World War II. The power of what-if lessons from alternate histories. Exploring alternate histories can be a valuable exercise. It allows us to consider the significance of key events and decisions. By imagining different outcomes, we can gain a deeper understanding of the forces that have shaped our world. While we can never know for sure what might have been, by engaging in thoughtful speculation, we can challenge our assumptions, broaden our perspectives, and gain a greater appreciation for the complexities of history. The question of what might have happened if the United States had not entered World War II is a particularly compelling one. It forces us to confront the immense impact of American involvement in the conflict and to consider the profound ways in which the world might have been different. Conclusion: a world forever changed. The world today is a product of countless decisions and events. The Second World War played a pivotal role in shaping the 20th century. American involvement had a profound impact. The balance of power and economic realities would have been vastly different. Society, from cultural trends to technological advancements, was altered. Some argue a delay in nuclear weapons development might have been favorable. History is a complex tapestry with unforeseen consequences. The interconnectedness of events and choices shapes our world. If you enjoyed this video, please like and subscribe for more. Comment below if you'd like to see more historical fiction videos.